nobody warns you about the quiet that follows the congratulations. There is the party, or maybe just a small gathering. There are cards, handshakes, a few kind words from people you have worked alongside for years. Someone makes a speech, you smile, you mean it, and then it ends. You drive home, you make coffee the next morning, you sit down, and the quiet that greets you is not the quiet you imagined. You expected relief, you earned this, you planned for it, and the relief is there, somewhere underneath everything. But so is something else, something you were not warned about, something that does not have a clean name yet. It feels a little like loss, and that confuses you. Because you chose this, because you were supposed to be happy, because people keep telling you how lucky you are, and you know they are right, and yet something inside you is not quite celebrating. You are not broken. You are not ungrateful. You are not depressed, and you are not failing at retirement. You are grieving. And before you dismiss that word, stay with it for a moment, because understanding it might be the most important thing you do in this first year. Think about what your career actually was, not just the title, not just the paycheck. Think about what it gave you every single morning when you woke up. It gave you a reason to get up at a specific time. It gave you a room full of people who expected you to show up. It gave you problems that needed your particular mind to solve them. It gave you a place in the world where your presence made a difference. It told you who you were. For 30, 35, maybe 40 years, your work was the architecture of your identity. Not the only part of you, but a large and load-bearing part. The part that organized everything else around it. And then one day, it was gone. Not gradually, overnight. The emails stopped, the calendar cleared, the phone went quiet. The people who needed you found someone else to need. And the structure that had held your days upright for decades simply was not there anymore. That is not a small thing. That is not an adjustment period. That is a profound subtraction from the shape of your life. And profound subtractions, even chosen ones, even welcomed ones, are still losses. They still leave a space where something used to be. They still ask something of you that nobody thought to mention at the farewell party. So why does nobody call it grief? Maybe because grief feels like too heavy a word for something you chose. Maybe because the culture around retirement is so insistent on celebration that there is no room for the harder feeling sitting right beside it. Maybe because admitting you are grieving a career makes it sound like you wish you were still there, and you do not exactly. And that contradiction is its own kind of confusion. But grief does not ask for your permission. It arrives whenever something that gave your life shape and meaning is no longer there. It does not wait for tragedy. It does not require that you wanted things to be different. It only requires that something mattered. And your career mattered. 35 years of showing up, of being capable, of being needed. That mattered. Calling it grief is not dramatic. It is accurate. And accuracy is the first step toward moving through something instead of being quietly confused by it for months. Because here is what grief in retirement actually looks like. It does not always look like sadness. It looks like sleeping well but waking up without direction. It looks like a perfectly fine Tuesday with nothing wrong in it, and yet feeling strangely hollow by 3 in the afternoon. It looks like not missing the stress, not missing the difficult people, not missing the pressure, but missing something underneath all of that. Missing being the person who was needed. Missing mattering in a way that was visible. It looks like scrolling through your old work emails and feeling something you cannot quite name. It looks like somebody asking what you do now and feeling a small, strange pause before you answer. It looks like guilt. Guilt for not feeling grateful enough, joyful enough, present enough in this life you worked so hard to reach. That guilt is worth looking at directly, because underneath it is a belief that has been following you quietly since the day you retired. The belief that if you were doing this right, you would feel fine by now. That the transition should have been smoother. That other people seem to handle it better. That something must be wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. What you are experiencing is what happens when a person of substance, a person who built something real over decades, suddenly finds themselves in open space without the scaffolding they have always known. The disorientation you feel is proportional to how seriously you took your work, how present you were, how much of yourself you brought to it every day. You do not grieve things that did not matter. The quiet in your house, the slow mornings, the calendar that no longer tells you who you are. These are not signs that retirement was a mistake. They are evidence. Evidence that the life you lived before this one was real, was meaningful, deserved more than a cake and a card and a wish of good luck. It deserved to be mourned. And mourning it, sitting with the loss instead of rushing past it, is not weakness. It is not ingratitude. It is the most honest thing you can do right now. Because you cannot build something new on ground you have not allowed yourself to grieve. The people who move through this transition with the most grace are not the ones who felt nothing. They are the ones who let themselves feel it, named it clearly, and then, slowly, began to ask a different question. Not, what did I lose? But what does this space now make possible? That question has no urgent answer. It does not need one yet. For now, it is enough to understand what is happening. To stop calling the hollowness ingratitude. To stop performing happiness for people who need you to be fine. To give yourself the same patience you would give anyone else moving through a genuine loss. You are not behind. You are not failing at this. You are between the person your career shaped you to be and the person this next chapter is quietly forming. That space between is uncomfortable. It is supposed to be. It is the space where everything honest happens. And the quiet that greeted you the morning after the congratulations ended, the quiet you did not expect, the quiet that felt slightly wrong, it was not emptiness. It was the sound of a life that meant something, settling into what comes next. You built something real. You showed up for decades. You were needed and capable and present. That does not disappear. It does not retire. It just gets quieter for a while. And quiet is not the end of anything. It is where the next true thing begins.